Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Samueli. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, Peter, a few days ago, the highest German court in Karlsruhe ruled against Facebook. And in particular, the issue that it addressed was Facebook's peremptory attitude towards its subscribers, namely its tendency to deplatform people who were using their platform and who assumed that they would be able to post freely. But instead, Facebook deplatformed them without giving proper notice, and most important, without giving people an opportunity to challenge their deplatforming. So what the court was saying was that it says that the Facebook's terms of service regarding the deletion of posts and blocking accounts for violating community standards were, quote, null and void, unquote. Because Facebook did not undertake to inform the users about the removal of an offensive post and to advise that it intended to block an account and to give a reason for doing so, or to offer the right of appeal. So Facebook has now been ordered to reinstate the people who the platform, to reinstate also the comments. The comments were about immigrants and so, obviously very unflattering about immigrants that Facebook deemed hate speech and threw it out. Now, on the one hand, this is undoubtedly a good ruling, and it is to be hoped that some of the American courts would adopt what the German court has done. On the other hand, the German courts are not champions of free speech. I mean, in fact, Europe really is not a place where you go for much free speech. I mean, they don't have a First Amendment there. And the court said Facebook is perfectly entitled to censor away and remove hate speech. And in Germany, there's an awful lot of removal of hate speech everywhere else. What the court was ruling on is relatively narrow, which is that it has to give a warning to people, and it has to give people an opportunity to respond. And that's where Facebook's standards are arbitrary, non-transparent. No one really knows what it's doing, and does not give proper reasoning as to why it removed people, and doesn't allow people also to challenge their decision. So it's good that this court has done this. On the other hand, I wouldn't look to Germany for any great advances in the freedom of speech. What was your take, Peter?
Well, I agree. I mean, this is just another like brick in the wall here. I mean, I don't think it's an earthquake that's going to change everything, but there is a growing recognition even in legal circles that what Facebook is doing is opaque. Okay, and it's determining what its values should be the values of the community, and which is kind of ridiculous on its face. So, I mean, for me, I'm really glad that this ruling has been made, but it's a long slog ahead because, and what it is that it's I would assume it's the algorithm that's doing it. Okay, I mean, it comes up in the algorithm, and they have a process of removing things. Facebook's worst nightmare and all these platforms is that having to respond, because that is going to take vast resources, and that's what they want to avoid. And that's where we're going. I mean, will they adjust the algorithm now? Most likely, and this is one of the most lucrative businesses ever. Their profits are unbelievable. But I think I really like your point. I mean, Germany and then Europe in general. I'm an American, and the First Amendment's in my DNA. Right. They do not think that way at all.
Not at all.
In France, it's really quite terrifying. when it comes to speech.
Yeah.
And for me, it just is something I cannot. I mean, and even my encounters with Ofcom in the UK, which to me, I'm just scratching my head. I have no idea what you people are talking about. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, but then the flip side, the fact that it does come out of Germany should give us a little more hope, because it's not something we usually expect from a German court.
No, I think so. I think it's if one looks at the German courts, or maybe European courts in general, I mean, they're pretty good on say due process. So they say, okay, there has to be a due process. What Facebook was doing was completely arbitrary, and therefore this is manifestly unfair to Facebook users when they don't know whether they're coming or going. So that's what the court rules. I think the German courts are also, I think, pretty good on antitrust. I mean, they come after Facebook or Twitter when they think that they have an unfair monopoly. And again, digital privacy and so on. I mean, I think it's a big deal in Europe. Where they're not good is on the question that you and I care about, which is free speech. I don't think they give a damn about free speech. I really don't.
But it's really interesting. I mean, if we can start accumulating these experiences on both sides of the pond, and cumulatively, it's hitting all the things that we want. Okay, right. It just in the U.S. there's more of a stress on free speech. Right. And then in what you and I like put it, we can put it into due process. I mean, and for me, that's a nice package here, and that's where it's going. The problem is, everyone, is that Facebook has lobbying power of unbelievable magnitude. Okay, so they have the lawyers, they have the resources, and they can fight. Okay, but the fact that these headlines, and there are quite a few of them actually right now, all across the media spectrum here. So that put a smile on my face, is that the long slog is started, okay? And I think that, there will be people in the US as we come up to the 2022 elections, they're going to be also looking at these rulings and seeing how they can apply it to American law. Because if everything remains the same, George, 2022 is going to be a nightmare because of big tech, and it has to be addressed now.
Right. No, I think so. And I think issues like due process and digital privacy, I would have thought they would be the easiest one to hit these companies for, because and I also assume on issues of antitrust. Because I think, clearly they're violating. I mean, we know that Facebook shares information, and where people assume privacy, that they share this information. And we know that what they're doing here is they're denying people's rights to challenge the deplatforming. I mean, if you sign up on the assumption that you will be, cheerfully putting on your postings, your content that you have created and everything, and then from one day to the next, it's all just taken away from you. You don't have any more access to all the material you've created, and then you don't have any right to appeal. I mean, it's such an obvious violation of due process. I would have thought the courts should be able to tackle that one.
And on top of it, they're making money off of your post and your content. They're making money, and then they're denying you, freedom of expression. Okay, right. I mean, what a lopsided deal. Okay,
it's outrageous. It really is. They're making money, and you don't make money, and they can just simply throw you off. One day to the next, you're out. And you don't even have your own intellectual property back. In other words, it's all gone. You can't have it back. So the courts, I think they I hope that the courts will look to what the German courts did and adopt some of those rulings, without getting into the more complicated free speech argument. Which I mean, obviously Facebook and Twitter are making this ridiculous idea that, hey, what about our free speech? We're entitled to remove any speech we don't like. You can't deny us our First Amendment rights.
Can you introduce me to Mr. Facebook? And I'd like to talk to him about that, or Mr. Twitter. I'd like to talk to him about that. This is absurd on its face. Yes. Okay, absolutely ridiculous. Oh, we're protecting freedom of speech.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and we can end on this here. The problem is here. Again, you and I always focus more on the freedom of speech element here. But the freedom of speech is specifically in the United States is determined under the law, and that we have recourse through the courts.
Yeah.
What Facebook and Twitter want to do is they want to either to gut the Constitution or essentially rewrite their own Constitution. See, this is what is at stake here, is that no company has the right to determine these terms and how they're applied in social life. Right. That's never happened before. I mean, it was like Standard Oil. They're going to tell us what what you can say and what you can't say about us. Okay. I mean, this is the same parallel. Okay.
That's right. But I mean, the notion that somehow when it comes to you and me, that's, oh well, hey, we're in the hands of private corporations, so therefore First Amendment doesn't apply to us because we're using a private corporation's platform. So the hell with you. But they get to say, well, we have our free speech rights. I mean, with the fact that we deplatform people, that's just our right to free speech. We're entitled to do that.
There is legal precedence left, right, and center with antitrust. Yeah. They have become the common carrier. Okay, so they are the public sphere. So their argument collapses into dust. Okay, right. They wanted to become the public sphere. You have succeeded. So now the law does apply to you. You are a common carrier. Exactly. Okay, everybody's got an account, but you cannot control what we're saying to each other. Okay, right. Like the telephone.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, anyway, this was at least, we don't often do thumbs ups, certainly not on our podcast. But this was, one thumbs up for the
little glimmer of hope out there in a very dreary, dark world. Okay, everybody, we're on Locals, so go to the gaggle.locals.com. Please sign up and do a one-on-one Zoom chat with George and I. We did one yesterday that was just absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. Please look at it. It was with Richard Barris, and it was a brilliant, outstanding conversation. So we're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it again with him very soon. So really looking forward to that.
We have the Gaggle store that's up. We got some new buddy material there. George has started live streaming. I will follow suit very quickly. On either Thursday or Friday, we'll be doing a super chat on YouTube. And there's always that one thing I forget.
Well, the one thing that you forget, but which Buddy doesn't forget, is Skippy, but there's no room for him in there anyway. I mean, that tip jar, that's all taken. Is the tip jar, and that's in a very perilously empty situation. So anything you can contribute to the tip jar would be most appreciated. So we don't have wealthy donors, wealthy patrons, or benefactors. So we rely on the contributions of fellow gagglers, and we really are very grateful and appreciative of anything that you can contribute. So the tip jar is there for all of us. Remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. Well, Skippy. See you. Bye, Skippy. See you soon. Bye-bye.